Welcome to the Where's the Growth podcast. I'm your host, Ant Smith, and today we're going to be talking about being good and being different, trusting your gut, and speeding up your decision making. Let's dive in. So recently I listened to the Mel Robbins podcast titled The 51% Rule, and I strongly recommend you check it out. In the episode, she interviews Steven Bartlett, who's an entrepreneur that hosts Europe's #1 podcast, The Diary of a CEO. In the episode, they talk about these 3 topics, and since I gained so much value from the episode, I wanted to share my insights. 2 things no one wants to be in life is not enough and different. And I want to talk about not being enough first because I feel like this is something that we all struggle with. I mean, it's not lost on me that we live in a world where we see everyone at their best in everything. Social media, Instagram, TikTok. We see the highlights of people's lives. We see celebrities, they're in their best form, they're wearing makeup, they got jewelry on, they got Botox, wearing designer, living luxury lifestyle, taking vacations, right? And I think by default, we have a tendency to compare our lives to what we see to other people in the media, specifically these celebrities, right? Because these images are consistently thrown in our face, I'll admit, I find myself thinking, damn, I'm looking at someone who's younger than me, but has twice as much as me. And I start questioning, like, what am I doing wrong? I mean, I went to school, I followed the blueprint, I got a good job out of college, right? So I always question, like, what am I doing wrong? And I think this thinking is the problem in itself. And the only way to solve this is by increasing our self-awareness. So this is simply just being aware enough to ask ourselves in these moments, where did this thought come from? Why am I thinking this way? Then challenge yourself to ask, do I actually believe this? Once we do this, it'll translate to us wanting to be different and change something in our lives. I think today people are really embracing what makes them different because we've seen how social media has really celebrated and rewarded those for being different and showing what that actually looks like. Now, for this week, what that looked like for me was actually this podcast, because I didn't feel like the episodes were really providing value to you guys. And I told my girlfriend that, and I was like, hey, babe, like I've been thinking about this, and I don't know necessarily if the episodes are hitting. I mean, I feel good creating them selfishly, but I'm not sure if the people are getting the value that I'm looking to provide them in these episodes. And it's funny because she reassured me that obviously if this was something that I felt compelled to do, to continue and see it through, right? But what really was reassurance for me was 24 hours after having that conversation, I actually had 2 people reach out to me to tell me that they actually got value out of the last episode, and they were actually looking to implement some of the things that I talked about. So internally, I was rooted in the right reasons for creating the podcast and putting out the episodes, but I was allowing the results of engagement, views, and things like that to cloud my initial judgment and the foundation of why I actually started this in the first place. And what this looked like for me professionally this week was, in recapping my week with my manager, I looked at my activity that I had set for myself for goals that I wanted to accomplish at the beginning of the week. And I realized that I didn't complete all the tasks that I assigned to myself at the beginning of the week. But in conversation with my managers, I actually realized that although I didn't accomplish the things that I personally had set for myself to achieve this week, I actually did have a bigger impact on the team as a whole by simply showing up, being vulnerable, and being present in the moment where challenges for other team members presented themselves, and essentially just allowing myself to be present, actively listen, and see what was needed in that moment. So although I didn't achieve the goals that I had set for myself, it was really important to see that the impact that I was having was not only just affecting myself, but it was also affecting my team members. So I didn't feel like I was enough when I didn't hit my weekly goals, or my weekly activity, I should say. And I could have chose to sit in that and be really caught up in that this week. But in that conversation with my manager, it really just kind of took me out of my limiting beliefs of, hey, because I didn't hit this, right? Like I didn't have an impact this week, and allowed me to take a step back and see, well, who else did I impact this week? Even though I didn't get the full value that I was looking for to provide myself, I was still able to provide value to those that I came in contact with. And I think that we overlook the impact we have on others sometimes when we're so hyper-focused on ourselves, when if we take a step back and change our perspective and focus on how are we actually impacting others, I think that'll give us that reassurance that we are actually moving and doing things in the right measure and actually having an impact to actually feel that sense of we are good enough. Because we are our biggest critics, we can be the ones that kill any progress and success that we make. And oftentimes we need others to reassure us that what we're doing, the work we're putting in, and the value we're providing is actually beneficial and impactful. So when you have those thoughts of feeling like you're not good enough, you're not enough, take a moment, and I want you to hear this when I say you're enough exactly as you are right now. And if you have a desire to get better and be better, know why you want to be better and get better, and make sure you operate from that foundation as you move forward. Now, I think this translates perfectly into being different, because we've seen a lot more now with TikTok, and especially after the pandemic, where people were able to do a lot of DIY and start a lot of their side hustles that they've always wanted to start but never really took the leap of faith on. We see a lot of celebration in people being different. And prior to the pandemic, I'll say, being different wasn't something that we celebrated. If you were different, especially like in school, you look different from everyone else, you have different skin color, you are into different things. A lot of kids get bullied. A lot of kids don't fit in. They don't have friends because they're different. But now, especially as you get older, you start to see that your differences are actually what make you you, and they're actually what we need more of is difference. When you have the same kind of cookie cutter or the same kind of individuals leading the forefront and being the spearheads for change or being the model and expectation, you really miss out on the differences and the uniqueness that we all have inside of us to allow things to change, allow different perspectives to be seen, to celebrate those differences. So when you find yourself in those moments of being wrapped up in, I want to try something, I want to do something, but me going and pursuing that is going to go against the grain and going to be different, I want you to challenge yourself and actually take that leap of faith and step into that unknown, step into and lean into those differences, because 9 times out of 10, those differences are what's going to bring you the desired outcomes you're looking for, and it's going to warrant a positive change, and you're going to be a example for someone else who's in your position that's looking for and having the same thoughts that you were having prior to making that change of, I don't feel like I'm enough, and I don't know if I'm going to be accepted because of these differences. So, all that to say, you are enough exactly as you are. If you want to become a better version of yourself, know why you want to first. And remember that for you to be 100% yourself, you're going to look and do things differently than everyone else. And it's not only okay, but it's what someone else who's in your shoes needs to see in you and from you. So you're not just stepping out into owning your authenticity for yourself, you're doing it for the other person who's just behind you and doesn't have the same confidence that you have to go out on a limb and step into their own greatness. So step into your authenticity. You're enough exactly as you are, and if you do want to get better and improve, know why you want to do it before you take the next step. Trusting your gut. Now, I think that this one is so relevant, especially in today's day and age. We have so many external pressures that influence us, saying this is how you should feel, this is what you should do, you should go to school, you should get good grades. If you go to school, get good grades, land a nice job, meet the love of your life, buy a nice house, make a lot of money, drive a nice fancy car. We're told that if you do all these things, you're gonna feel happy at the end of it. But how many people do we see that follow this blueprint and they make a ton of money, they live in this big house? On the outside, it looks like they're living the best life possible. But when they're not on camera showing the glam and glitz of their lifestyle, how many people do we see are truly unhappy in these situations? And we think that since they have everything, all of the material possessions and all of the trips and all of the followers, and their life looks great on social, we think that they have to be happy. There could be nothing wrong in their lives. But these are oftentimes the most unhappy people. And we're told that we should feel and not focus on what we want internally or our gut feeling. We should follow this blueprint, and this is the blueprint to success. Well, I want to share my personal experience of coming out of college and what this all looked like to me, because I didn't trust my gut. And transparently, I had no idea what I was going to do when I graduated college. So I graduated college with a major in criminology and a double minor in business and communications. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I got out of school. I thought I wanted to go to law school. I thought I wanted to become a lawyer. I wanted to be a business attorney and deal with contract negotiations, things like that. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I was good at talking to people. I knew I had an obsession for sales. I've always been marketing and always been an entrepreneur. I mean, I glass blew when I was a kid. In my high school and college years, we threw parties. So we had big promotions, and I knew the ins and outs of running a business, marketing and getting people bought in, and grabbing attention and things like that. But I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do for a career. So I landed on, we had a career fair on my job, and one of the employers there were Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I didn't know anything about Enterprise prior to the career fair, but I did know that they had a management training program, and it was going to give me all the foundational tools that I would need to take everything that I learned from Enterprise and then be able to apply it to whatever my next endeavor was going to be. So when I chose to go to Enterprise, I knew that it was going to help me increase my customer service. It was going to help me increase my skill set on operations of a business, marketing, advertising, building relationships. I mean, everything from a business standpoint. I knew that this training program was going to provide me, from the reviews as well as the people who had previously gone through the management training program that graduated the year before me. So when I took that opportunity to go work at Enterprise, it was really on the foundation that Enterprise is going to be the stepping stone for me to then elevate all my skill set to take that next step in my career. Again, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew the skills I wanted to improve on, and I knew what I was going to take out of this experience at Enterprise if I just put my head down, grinded, and went through it. You're kind of sold the dream that you can work your way up and you're going to gain all these skills and you can soon become, the own manager of your own branch, which I did make it up to. And then after that, you'd become like an area manager and you'd oversee a bunch of different branches and you make a lot of money and all those things. So I had bought into that vision of, if I stay here, put the time in long enough and keep climbing up this ladder, I will be able to have all these things. I'll have the ability to go on these nice vacations. I'll have all this money in my bank account. I'll be able to afford that house. I'll be able to take those trips and all that stuff. And what I realized was, although all those things were going to be really nice, what I was going to be sacrificing as a result was going to be my energy, my drive, and my efforts. So for those of you who don't know, at Enterprise, you're wearing a full suit cleaning cars. So every day, and we were open at my first branch, we were open 7 days a week. So I'm in a 3-piece suit because I love to wear my vest. If anybody knows me knows I love to wear my vest with my suits. I'm in a 3-piece suit cleaning cars all day, dealing with disgruntled customers, dealing with stolen cars, dealing with cleaning out cars that are smoked out, like all of it, right? You deal with everything, especially when you are the branch manager. So I'm dealing with all of this in a 3-piece suit, and I'm realizing each day I am so exhausted from the amount of physical labor that I have to do on a daily basis. And granted, I'm not saying this to say that Enterprise is not a great opportunity and not a great career path, but it wasn't the end all be all for me. I knew what I was looking to take out of this experience, and which is why I had kind of clear expectations of the skills I was going to be improving on here and where this was going to take me from a career progression standpoint. So after 3 years of being at Enterprise, I had hit kind of this wall where I was just like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't keep grinding like this in a 3-piece suit, cleaning cars all day. Like, so exhausted when I get home, too tired to do anything, not having enough time for my girlfriend, not really having the motivation or drive to like do anything on my free time too, because it's like the grind just doesn't stop. I gotta do this all over again. And by this point, after 3 years in, I've built up all of the skill sets that I was looking to improve on while I was there. So now I kind of reached this plateau where I'm like, all right, I'm not gaining anything else from being here. I need to now look for what's that next opportunity and what's that next step that I can take to elevate myself in my career and personally and professionally. And thank God, one of my buddies at the time had actually transitioned from enterprise to my current employer now. And when he did that, there just so happened to be another spot that was open up in the Boston office. So he actually reached out to me, made the introduction. I went through the interview process, and in that, I actually found that this opportunity that presented itself was exactly everything that I was looking for. It gave me the opportunity to improve on my business acumen. It gave me the opportunity to connect and interact with the C-suite. It gave me the opportunity and the ability to actually hone in on my communication and networking skills in the capacity that I was looking to actually investigate. So all that to say, internally, I knew that enterprise was not going to be the last step for me in my career progression. I knew that although it wasn't the ideal job that it was gonna, although it wasn't the ideal situation for me, and although it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, let's say, I knew that there were areas of opportunity within that role that I was signing up for that were gonna allow me to increase and be better and become better as a result of going through the thick of it. I can wholeheartedly say I wouldn't be where I am today if I did not work at enterprise. And I tell everybody, from a foundational standpoint, I would recommend that enterprise management training program to anyone and everyone looking to increase their knowledge, understanding, and ability to grow when it comes to all things business. All that to say, when you are getting ready to embark on something, and it's something that may not be your first, second, third, your 10th choice, right? Before you go down that path, ask yourself, if I am to pursue this selfishly, what areas of my life can I benefit from by going down this path? What areas of my life can I focus on so that I can improve these aspects in this grind that I know is not going to be my end all be all, or maybe I don't know that yet, but what areas can I selfishly focus on and look forward to improving through this opportunity that's going to allow me to then make a pivot or make that elevation step in my next endeavor. Just listen to your gut. Give yourself a chance to chase your happiness and listen to that internal voice that's telling you, hey, let's try something else, or this is not bringing me happiness. The speed of making decisions. Now, if you're someone who is constantly worrying or overthinking when it comes to making big decisions in your life, I want you to pay extra close attention to this topic, because the time it takes you to actually make a decision could be the single thing that's holding you back from living the life that you actually want. Now, in this podcast episode, Steven talks about Jeff Bezos' ideology on the two types of decisions that there are in the world. Type 1 decisions are decisions or doors you can't walk back through once you walk through them. So essentially, these are kind of like big milestone decisions, right? They're irreversible. So he advises that you take your time when making these decisions. Now, the second type of decisions, so type 2 decisions, are doors you can walk back through if you're wrong. So these are reversible decisions. So 90% of our decisions are type 2 decisions, meaning that if we make these decisions and we are wrong about the initial decision that we make, we have the ability to pivot. I'm going to reiterate that. 90% of our decisions are type 2 decisions. If we make the wrong move when we make these decisions, we have the ability to pivot and make a different decision after. They are reversible. They are not that deep. They're not that deep. So 90% of our decisions are type 2 decisions. So we want to make these as fast as we can. Now, the thing that really struck me about that podcast episode was that Steven talks about this 51% rule when it comes to making these types of decisions. So he tells the story about how he was at a conference and he was listening to Barack Obama speak at an event. And Barack Obama had shared that when they had originally found bin Laden, he had to make a decision on if he was going to send 2 Apache helicopters with U.S. soldiers in them to Pakistan with 51% certainty that bin Laden was actually at the compound. And Barack had said that when it comes to making big decisions in life, you have to get to a 51% certainty. And you have to get to that 51% certainty or as close to it as possible, with the peace of mind that you're making this decision with all of the available evidence and information you have, and you have to let it go after you make that decision. Now, this struck me because later on in that conversation, they were talking about we never have 100% certainty when we make any decision in life. The only time we get 100% certainty is when we look back after we've already made the decision. So when you're in the heat of the moment making a decision, you're never going to be 100% certain that it's the right decision, that it's going to give you everything that you want. You're never going to be at 100%. But if you can get to 51% certainty that you're making the right decision with all of the evidence that you have available to you, you need to go ahead and make that decision. Because if it's a type 2 decision and you have the ability to pivot, if you're wrong about the decision that you made, you deciding to move on that decision is going to bring you further than you simply deciding to not take any action or overthinking it and staying stagnant. So the biggest risk that you're going to take in life is not going to be thinking about or worrying about what people are going to say when you decide to take that leap of faith on whatever that thing is that you want to do. The biggest risk you're going to take in life is simply never taking any risks and never doing that thing that you want to do that's been calling you, that you've been itching to do for however long. And then you get to the end of your life and realize, damn, what would have happened if I had tried this when I was younger? Damn, what would have happened if I had ventured out and had that extra experience that I always dreamed about? Overthinking yourself out of taking action, deciding and making the choice that you're going to wait until tomorrow to think about it, to procrastinate it, all the way till that procrastination gets to that point where you don't have the opportunity to even do that thing anymore. So all that to say is we got to speed up the time it takes us to make decisions. And if you implement this 51% rule, I think you're going to be happy with the results. And that's all I got this week, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. I'll see you next Sunday. I love y'all. God bless, and see you next week.